You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
I know. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
Shannon G. and Mesa AZ.
And we'd like to welcome you to this week's episode. We are happy to have you. We appreciate your patronage and the fact that you're listening to us. As always, click on our YouTube page, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share. That'll help us out. We are constantly getting new members, and we do appreciate you listening all over the world. I think Japan moved up to number 3, which is pretty exciting. So, yeah, I think it's the U.S. and then Canada, and then Japan moved up one. It was Germany, and now I think Japan. So if you're listening in Japan, we appreciate it.
Upper Volta? Upper Volta?
Yeah, exactly, right there. I don't speak Japanese, but,
Konnichiwa.
Jay's daughter does. Anyway, we have had a few episodes since Jay's birthday. But I remember when we were talking to Jay about his birthday gift that we were all excited about the Maiden flight, which has happened since the birthday. If you were not familiar with that, you can go back and listen to his birthday podcast. But he got the E-Flight UMX Consendo. Is it Consendo? Consendo. I think I was pronouncing it Conshindo, but it's actually Consendo. And Jay, you got that, and I think it was all exciting. I had flown it at the Electric Festival, and I really liked it. And I knew you were looking for a party.
It was one of the planes that really impressed me at the festival, and I didn't get a chance to fly it, but I mean, every time it came out, I watched it, and I just thought, well, that's pretty neat. You could fly it in the parking lot, you could fly it in the backyard. You could fly it fast, you could fly it slow. It looked just really versatile.
And it was.
Yeah. So when I had a chance and my battery showed up, because that was the one thing that was holding me up was the batteries, and so finally found a good place to get them at.
Which is where, by the way? Where did you get your batteries?
Actually, I ended up getting them off a place for eBay, and that's where I got them. And I got them at a decent price. And so basically the batteries for these, and this is where I found the best price for them, you buy a E-Flight, I want to say it's like a 120 helicopter. Mm-hmm. They have a little 3-cell helicopter battery. That's the size that you could use for this, and it works perfectly, has more than enough power. And the place I got them from, you could get like not two for the price of one, but you could get two batteries for about $20. They were having a special or whatever, and it turned out to be a good deal. I think I sent it to you as well when Mike told me that he was going to be getting you this same plane for your
I think
birthday.
You did. Yep.
Yeah. So that seemed to be the best place. And let me tell you, so I thought, all right, so you can fit it says in the instructions you can fly a 200 milliamp battery, 3-cell milliamp battery to a 300. Mm-hmm. And they are not kidding. So, like, one of the things I was thinking about was there was plenty of 350. I could find plenty of 350, 400 milliamp batteries, and I'm like, what's 50 milliamps? That get to fly longer and better C rating. Yeah, sure, I'll get that. Yeah, no, 300 is the max you can fit in there. There is no cramming. There is no finagling. To getting that thing in there. There quite literally is no more room for anything else but that battery. So
that's crazy too. And and for me, I have one. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it sitting behind me. And actually, I don't have any of the 3 cells. You can fly it off of a 2-cell, and I have all those, Pitts S1 UMX, and they all use 2-cell batteries. And so I've actually flown this one on 2-cell, and we can talk about that when you kind of get your thing.
Yeah.
But the Pulse battery fits right in there, and you were correct. It's a 300. Anything bigger, it's not fitting.
Yeah,
and it's got to have it's got to have a special the JTX as well.
Yeah, just the JST.
JST connector.
But so, like, I have a bunch of 400s, some 500s. like I said, I was like, I should be able to fit one of those in there. No,
Nope.
it is pretty much designed for one battery, so that's
Right.
unless you fly, like you said, 2 cells, then the 2 cells you can fit in there easily. They're you have a little bit of leeway of room to fit in there. So, but yeah, the 3
just
cell
get a 600 and cut it in half.
Yeah, just splice it.
Yeah, just fold it, just roll it up into the thing, and just stick it in there.
Yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a very small. I mean, the motor's in the front as well. So between the motor and where the wing attaches, there's only maybe 2 inches, if that, maybe 1 3/4.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
tight.
pretty
It's-
tight.
it's very
Pretty
tight.
So
It's very
and
tight.
the canopy just kind of pushes in and has a magnet to hold it shut. So
Yeah.
it's not like you can squeeze it and tie it down or lock it down or anything.
Right, or
but,
like in normal planes, you normally have like more foam on the sides of the plane. If you wanted to like cut out that foam and fit a bigger battery, and you can do that. In this plane,
Right.
no, there is nothing.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is definitely the sides.
fuselage is so thin that there's really nothing. There is no leeway of cutting or sanding some extra wiggle room. There
True.
just isn't any. But other than that, the plane is fantastic. I mean, flying wise. Now, how did you have any problems setting yours up, or did you run into any difficulties? Or let me put it this way: how did you set yours up? Do you have flaperons, spoilers on yours? How'd you set yours up? Just
So
normal?
no, I will tell you that this is very one like you talk about where you shake the box and it just kind of falls out into place.
Absolutely.
But there's one plug you plug in, and then the wing actually sits down, and you just twist the knob on it, and
Which
it's
is
locked
really
in place.
cool. Which is really cool.
Yeah. Now I have the IX20, and so it's basically kind of set up. I read the directions for the IX, and you just basically select I was really shocked, actually, to go back. I was shocked that they didn't have it in the IX20 already, because most of the other UMXs are in there, but this one was not. And so normally on my radio, I can just select the bind and fly, and it gives me the model, and everything's already set up. I just click the go do it, and it just does it all for me. But on this one, I actually had to set up for the way that the booklet told me. And so for me, I just had to select the airplane and normal tail, and then the safe mode and the AS3X are already in the airplane. But I did not go set up because I only had the 2 cell, I didn't set up for the spoilerons or flaperons as of yet. I wanted to go out and Maiden it and get it all set up, that kind of thing, before I did it. So,
yeah, I set mine
so to
up
answer your
for it.
question, I didn't have any problems setting it up. It went very, very quickly. It's ready to fly in 5 minutes. But I haven't gone through that setup yet. If you did, I did not.
It's
Not
a
yet,
little
anyway.
weird. It's a little weird, but it worked. It worked just as once they have excellent writers,
Instructions.
for technical writers for writing instructions, because if you follow the instructions, the stuff will work. It may seem a little odd because they have you flicking some switches several times to put it in the mode. You have to put it in the mode. You have to put it in the mode. And you have to flick a couple of switches several times in a certain sequence, in order to put it into that mode for it to remember it. And then you're like, well, did it work or did it not work? And there's a little bit of leeway, but if you go back to the instructions, follow what they tell you, it will work, and it works very well. So now for flying it with I've flown planes with flaperons and spoilerons and stuff before, and it's been I'm not going to say disastrous, but the results have been very poor. Meaning, usually for the flaperons, slower I'd get, and the more movement I would have, the worse the stalling would get, or something. Something really weird would happen when you start. When I started messing with flaperons. With this plane, it just flies like a dream. Just flies like a dream. In fact, the spoilerons, as opposed to a couple other bigger planes that I have, usually you pop on those spoilers. I mean, that just kills the lift, and the plane just comes down like a glided brick. This plane, not so much. And so I was like, this is the part, even though I haven't gone into the flying, but that was the part where I was like, ooh, I think I might need to increase the throws just a little, like need to have a little bit more throws on the plane, which usually for spoilerons and flaperons, you don't need much. I mean, a little goes a long way. And in fact, that's usually how people get themselves in trouble, is that they go, oh, I'll just add in, a whole bunch of this stuff. And it's disastrous. But at least with the settings they start you out with, you'll have no problems. And it'll work. And like I said, the plane's great because it could zoom around like you're pylon racing, and then you can just slow it down and be like putting along at, half a knot, and it's just staying in the sky. It's remarkable.
Did you set yours up with the 100% and the 70%?
Yes.
That was in the manual?
One like high rate and then like a medium rate, I think is what I have.
Yeah, I had it's just a high and a low or whatever, but it's 100% and then 70%, and then the Expo is really low, like 5% or something. But
yeah,
I found after flying mine that I don't like the lower rates. It just doesn't react as well for me.
I can't remember. I know that I really didn't even play with the rates. At first I was just trying out the different rates and different things, but after a while I just left it on I can't remember if it was high or low, honestly.
Yeah, it probably was high because that's what I did with mine. I just left them on high.
And it just flew fine or whatever. But like I said, I was playing with the flaperons and spoilerons and, that kind of thing, and they just weren't giving me, compared to other gliders or other things I've had with that stuff on there, it wasn't giving me the performance I was looking for. And then I had a little incident and I wasn't able to, further my experiments. So,
yo,
yeah,
what's that?
That's terrible.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that in a sec.
Well, before you get to your incident, because this is all about your Maiden, but I will tell you that mine went relatively easy. Matter of fact, I just flew right here on the ranch. I just went outside and kind of flew around. The 2-cell is not as snappy because I flew it at the Electric Festival with a 3-cell in it. That thing hauls the mail. I mean, it's like a speed demon, and then slow it down. A full throttle on the 2-cell is like a slow fly 28. It's just putts around. Now, there's some value to that because you get a little bit of wind, which I do up here, right? I mean, it's kind of the Windy Ridge area, and my flags are always flapping around out there. And when I first flew it, it was just calm day, and I kind of maidened it, and I knew early in the morning that it would be, no wind, and then so I got all the, trimmed it out. Didn't only took a couple of clicks, got it all trimmed up, and then threw the other battery in there, flew it again. Now this time the wind picked up. Switched over to the high rates, which I like much better, and then I got it up, a couple of mistakes, and then just shut the motor off and just was gliding around, and that thing will slow way down and just kind of hover, and then I dive down. It does really cool loops, but the aileron rolls were real lethargic for me. They didn't happen very fast. Matter of fact, I got stuck upside down, and I just flew it around upside down for a little bit. Then I kind of did a split S back into there. I was like,
yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, and I couldn't get it back around, so it was just kind of weird.
Behind us here in your man cave, probably could. Right?
Oh yeah, that's true. I could fly it.
There you go.
Right here. It's actually a little bit quick to fly around in here. I could fly something smaller in there, or like the Vapor. I could fly in there.
We've done that before.
That thing is a little bit faster, but I do like the launch mechanism in the safe mode where you can just toss it in the air.
That was pretty cool. That you can pretty
just
much
hold it at a
your
45, and it just launches out at a 45. I mean, you can literally put the radio down by your side.
Yep, you
could just toss it, and it just stays in the track until you take the sticks, and then as soon as you move the sticks, it starts moving around.
Yep,
which is very, very cool. And then their gear switch takes it out of safe. And I did fly it around to safe for a couple minutes, just try to see, and it won't go upside down. It just kind of for someone that's learning to fly, this would be a great airplane.
Yes,
to set up because
I would definitely concur with that. But I will say for people who do know how to fly, if you have it in safe mode, it's kind of scary.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating, scary, or you're like, hey, what's wrong with this plane?
Right.
Why is it? It's not reacting.
It won't
It's not
turn. Yeah.
It won't turn. It's not turning, or it's not doing, what I expect it to do, because it seems lethargic, or like it's refusing to do your commands, and that's
Right.
kind of what it's doing. And it's trying to keep.
It's
the
just
plane
limiting
straight.
the bank.
It's just limiting your bank and stuff, and it's just one of those things where you're like, oh man, this thing is not turning. It is not doing anything that I told it to do. What's going on?
Right. It's funny. So you lucked out because I think Mike came down for your Maiden, right?
No, I made
Mike?
it. I made it before he came down.
Oh, you made it before he came down. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I on my day that I made in mine. Unfortunately, you know how my field can be. It can be calm and then it can be blustery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was one of the blusterier days, and it was overcast,
Gotcha.
and it was kind of one of those gray skies, low clouds, and I was out there and I'm like, yeah, well, it should be fine. I'll just keep it close. It should be fine.
Famous last words.
and I did, and it was fine. And then, I started having fun with the plane. And of course, like I said, I have a 3-cylinder thing, so I'm zipping around, wee, zoom, 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 zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I will just put it out to older folks whose eyesight may be going or having a hard time seeing smaller things, that this is a plane you have to keep near and dear to your heart. If you've never flown wings before, where you can kind of just have a good feeling where the plane's at, it is, if you fly this like you fly a normal glider and you just get it up there and you want to glide around, you have to be very careful, because you can get it up there and just be like, oh wow, that's so much fun, and then you blink and you're like, crap, where'd the plane, white day, gray background, you're like, oh crap, where'd the plane go? It's up there, so okay, you can kind of hear it. This and the plane's very quiet, right? So
it is very quiet.
It doesn't make much noise at all, so it's not like you can hear it, when you're throttling up and stuff. It's very, very faint. So yeah, you need to keep your eyes on it. Don't fly too far away, because it is very easy with you having fun that you get it up, a couple of mistakes high, and if the clouds are just right and you're not paying attention, man, that plane can disappear. So that was one of the first things I learned when I was flying that day. Plus it was kind of blustery, so the plane was little things getting blown around a little bit, and
right.
And I was like, okay, I may be tempting the fates. I'm going to bring it back closer to the field and fly it a little lower to the ground and whatever else, and right lower, in my little area. So I did that, and then everything was fine. But like I said, this plane zooms so much that you just have a tendency to want to, skyrocket the thing, come zipping back down to the ground, slow it right down. I just like the turns you could just do in this plane. You can get so aggressive with it, when you're turning and banking it. I mean, you just get it really, yeah, it's fun. It's just really fun.
So it's almost like a hotliner, right?
It's like
it's kind of a hotliner.
It's a
type
little
feel.
mini hotliner or a warm liner. I call it a warm liner, but yes,
a warm liner maybe.
You can be very aggressive with it. It's got a lot of speed for its size. It's just it's like a perfect little. It's like a perfect little. I don't want to say toy, but I mean it's a perfect little plane. I mean it's just like.
Yeah.
Wee, and like I said, you can get really aggressive with it and just do stupid things.
Right.
And then if you put it back in the safe mode, just flip your gear switch, it just comes back, and you're like, oh, that was kind of fun. And that's what I was doing at one time. I'm sitting there trying to tumble it and do whatever and get crazy with it, trying to get it out of control. And then I was like, okay, put it back into the safe mode. It'd come out, and then I just start doing it all over again. So I was just having fun being irresponsible, I guess is the word. Yeah, there you go. So
there you go. Always good to be irresponsible with a new airplane.
Yeah.
Nothing
So-
bad ever
Okay,
happens.
okay,
when you
folks,
do
don't.
that.
Yeah, nothing. What could
Folks,
possibly
don't
go
listen.
wrong?
Don't listen to me. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah. So I was able to fly before Mike came down, and then when Mike came down, you know how it is when we all get together and then we start thinking of really great ideas to do things. So Mike brought down his pits, and so he wanted to take it off of. He didn't want to fly it in our normal spot, so we went over by that church parking lot where we've flown before. To have a runway or whatever. So we went over there. started flying the glider and having some fun with it, and let Mike fly it, because normally he's like, oh, I don't know about flying a new plane. I don't know if I'm going to fly it well or that well, but it's a fun plane. You can't hurt it. So so we're flying, and so so I had a turn with the plane, and I'm flying it, and then I was flying a little high over us, and I ended up flying like into the sun, because the sun by that time was almost noon. So, kind of flew into the sun, came out of the sun. Mike's like, hey man, I think I remember these words: don't fly over our head, directly over our heads, and don't fly in the sun, right? Because that's something he does he has a good knack with it, right? And he does
a bad habit of doing those.
Yeah. So I go, it's fine, So that later came to bite me in the butt. And anyway, we were out there flying, having a good time. We flew we had a couple of repairs to do to Mike's to his pits. So I 3D printed a part or two for him, and we went out there. We successfully flew that. And once again, it was a little bit of a blustery day, and we're in this field that all the bluebonnets are blooming, and so people are stopping by the droves. Usually there's nobody over in that field, and everybody was over there taking pictures of the bluebonnet stuff and whatever. So anyway, we were, once again, I was up flying, and once again, I kind of had it up kind of high, and we were talking about whatever, and I got it to go over my head again, right? It came over my head into the, out of the sun, and I go, crap, I got it, it went in the sun. And I kind of looked away, and then I went to look back. Well, I didn't see the plane, right? I'm like, okay, well, it should,
no.
the sun's over here, like right here. So I'm looking here. There you go, so you can see it. I'm looking here, right here, not looking at the sun, but I'm looking here where the plane should fly into my field of view. Well, like 10 seconds go by, nothing, and I'm like, huh. And I look at Mike and I go, hey, do you see my plane? And Mike's doing something, and he's like, no, I don't see your plane. And I'm like, crap. So now I'm like looking, and dude, I do not see the plane. So I kind of throttle up, I kind of pulse the throttle. Don't hear nothing, and so I'm like, that ain't good. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I haven't put in any inputs, right? So it should be traveling that way. So I go ahead and I put it in a slight bank to the left, right? And I'm just holding the sticks. My thought is, hey, it'll just, make a turn to the left. I have the safe mode, or I had it. Yeah, I had the safe mode in or whatever. So I'm just holding this angle, and I'm not doing nothing. We're just looking. And dude, I'm holding it for, after like 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, the plane has to be down. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm desperately looking around, and I'm like,
right.
Okay, it's been.
Did you have the throttle on? Did you have the throttle on?
No, it was just gliding. It was just gliding the whole time. I'd done whatever, went to the sun, just had it gliding, was waiting for it to come out. Never saw it come out. Went ahead and put it in the left turn. Just held it. I'm trying to look. I'm looking all over. Didn't see nothing. I'm looking at the people who are all out in the field, seeing if they're looking up or seeing anything. And Mike's like, yeah, I lost it, when it went to the sun, and I'm like, well, I didn't get blinded by the sun, because of my hat and my sunglasses, but, it didn't come out where I expected it to come out, and so, like I said, after 5 minutes, I'm just like, okay, well, the wind's blowing from this way, so the plane might have been blown that way, so we just started expanding our thing and started looking in the field and through the trees, and we ended up going by the church over there and looking all over. We looked on top of the buildings that we're standing next to, didn't see anything by those, and we spent a good half an hour looking for the plane, and I'm like, dude, it's gone.
Vaporized it, didn't it?
Yeah. So it just kind of...
No, it's right behind you, Mike.
Lost it.
You've got it. It flew all the way to Phoenix.
Yeah, there it is.
It flew all the way to Phoenix. It's right here.
There it is. That's a world's record. It's got to be.
It is. It's got to be a world's record.
So,
it's a homing pigeon.
So anyway, I was pretty heartbroken at that because, we're sitting out there, having fun with this thing, kind of looked away, went in the sun. Both of us lost contact with the plane, and we had not a clue as to where that plane went. So I will say it's a lot of fun, but you can lose sight of it, and you will lose it. Now, the good part was, in the sense, it wasn't like it went screaming out of the sky and smashed on the ground. Like I said,
it wasn't my Striker story.
Yeah, it wasn't something like that.
This just in, the Mexican government shot down a UAV.
Right, exactly.
Small UAV.
But on the flip side, it's one of those things because of. Let me put it this way: since it was kind of a blustery day, and we were trying to land it at our feet or whatever, you'd go, okay, it's coming down, da 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 da. It's going to land here. Well, the stupid plane would just keep flying. It would be like, whoa, man, I'm overshooting where I thought it was going to land because that ASX-3 works too well. I mean, the plane slows down to nothing and just keeps going. So,
right.
Because Mike's like, well, how high was it? Was it that high? And I go, well, it was making a shadow on the ground. It wasn't like it was up, I had it up 5 mistakes high. It wasn't that high. And he's like, oh, well, let's fly my plane, and if we can duplicate the shadow thing, we can see how high it is and where it could have possibly went. And we were trying all sorts of things, pulling stuff out of our butts, but no joy. So, I've been
now. If it's the same place that you and I, drove the bats around and flew the Stuka and all those other places there at that where the bank and the church. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of big trees in that parking lot. Do you think it went in one of the trees?
Yeah,
we looked at the top.
Yeah, we looked at that was some of the first places we looked, and the way I thought about it, the way the wind was blowing, the field after that field where we flew the Stuka, right past the buildings. If you go past it, there's a big field out there.
Yep.
So that's where I went because the wind was pushing the plane more than anything else, and I was like, okay, it probably got blown over that way. It's probably landed in one of those lower trees or landed in the field. And that's the only bad part about that plane, since it's so small, UMX.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to hide it.
That's true. Matter of fact, if you look right here, I can just put my hand in and almost hide the airplane.
Disappeared.
So
now it's a little bit further away from
stealth.
It is a stealth airplane.
So I'm laughing about it now, but there's not many planes that I've lost because of whatever that I actually lost sight of a plane and actually lost the plane. I think this is the first time this has ever happened to me. It sucks, but as it were, I got another one. Guess you guys can't see that.
Yeah,
I got a replacement.
There you go. Yep, replacement's coming.
I'm overjoyed, but I'm sad because it was a birthday present, and
Yeah, I'm sad too.
I am too.
Because I got it for you.
I hate losing airplanes. That's.
I know.
Yeah, it's not even the price. It's just, like what could I have done to prevent that? And
right.
You look away.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just totally perplexing. I gave a good friend of mine a plane years ago, and sure enough, like the first flight, it literally flew away. I was like, oh, how did that happen? And he's like, it just went away.
Right.
I found it. It's halfway near Phoenix by now. So.
Now,
well, depending on the airplane, because when I mentioned earlier the Striker story, many years ago, we had a guy that showed up at the field, and he's like, "Hey, are you an instructor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I bought this at the field," and I was like, "Wow, it was one of those Strikers, the big ones." And those things are 90 miles an hour right out of the box. And he's like, I said, well, have you ever flown before? He goes, nope. I said, this is your first airplane? He goes, yep. I was like, okay, well, maybe we should help you fly it here. He goes, yeah, no problem. Well, we were flying in a little area, urban flying, which is, a small field inside out here in Arizona. We have little green belts, and we can fly there, So there was like neighborhoods all over. And he full throttle, and I let go of it, and he just jammed it. And that was the last we saw of it. That thing just went zing, and it was in somebody's neighborhood. I think like 2 months later, somebody brought it back and said, "Hey, man, this was behind my pool equipment." I'd never go back there. So anyway, but it was gone. 30 seconds. That thing was just a speck.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, this one's not that fast, but it is still pretty peppy, and
Well, that's
it
the
is
thing.
kind of sad.
It was gliding. I wasn't zipping it around or flying. I was just in this thing. I was just playing gliding in the wind and was bringing it back towards myself. Got it in the sun. Got it whatever. I looked out of the sun, looked off to where it should come out, and like I said, it didn't come out. And I'm like, what the heck?
It's a leaf on the wind. Jay's
That's
leaf on
it.
the wind.
And then it just kept flying. So,
Well,
so I'm hoping,
the RC gods wanted that one
Yeah.
back.
yeah, I guess so. So I'm hoping that maybe somebody, by the church over there or that little community that's over there will put something in the Wimberley, paper or the one of the groups and say, hey, has anybody lost the plane? And unfortunately, okay, so this is the other part. So I've been so excited. So have I put my name or anything in that plane? No.
Nope.
Did I ever think about putting my name in that plane? No, it's so small.
Nope.
How am I going to lose this thing? So, so where a normal plane, I'll have my name or I'll have something in there. There's nothing in there. So,
Unfortunately.
We're supposed to have our name, our AMA number, the FAA
I
number.
know, right? Well,
Yeah.
but when it comes out of the box,
Yeah.
it's so exciting to go out and fly.
I'm going flying. I'll do that stuff later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that came back to
That's
bite me in
funny.
the ass. So, folks, don't be like me. Learn from Jay.
That's it.
Don't be a Jay. Be a Timmy or a
Don't be
Tom.
a Jay.
Follow the rules. Put your names and stuff. There's a reason why you do it, so that something like happens like this, you have a good chance of getting it back.
And the police can find you.
Well, the good news about it though too is that this was so much fun. That even though you did lose yours, there's another one behind you that you did pick up, and AK Mike bought one too.
Yeah,
so
I need to buy
he's
one,
got.
I'm a
Yeah,
little
they're
behind the eight
fun.
ball.
They're really fun. So it's definitely something that you can bring with you to the Electric Festival next year. For us to kind of go out and do that because it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it
'cause
is.
like you said, you could
it is a
pile on
riot.
race them. You could think of a zillion different games to play.
It was
with these things.
It was so much fun. So, and the batteries are really small. I just ordered a bunch as well for mine in the 3-cell version because the 2-cell is, not as fast. It just kind of floats around. But
Yeah, the 3-cell is
Anyway.
what brings it alive. Like I said, because when we flew the larger version of this plane, the Big Daddy of it, it was an okay glider, but I didn't think much of it. But then again, I started reading. Well, you're supposed to fly it on a 4-cell, not a 3-cell. And then I was like, oh, well, then I could see why the plane came alive if you start flying on a 4-cell.
Yeah, because I will tell you that after having flown it on the 3-cell and flown it now mine on a 2-cell, I would have had second thoughts on a 2-cell.
Yeah.
I really would.
like
If
I
I
said,
would have bought this and then flown it a 2-cell, I would have been like, it's okay. It's not as speedy. But the fun meter gets pegged when you put the 3-cell, and now you can do
instantly.
so much more stuff.
So much more.
Instantly
but like you were
changes
saying before, if you had a beginner, if you gave that to your striker guy and put a 2-cell in this, it's a perfect plane.
It's great.
To
perfect.
if you want to introduce somebody, into the sport.
Yep.
Because once again, with the safe mode, here have the sticks. Go ahead, crank the sticks wherever you want to do them, and they can't hurt nothing.
Yeah.
And then if they
That's true.
somehow get out of control, you just flip the thing, hit the gear switch, and you're
back in business.
You're back in business again.
I've got a great idea, guys.
So-
That's true.
The Consendo
What's that?
Olympics at AEF. So you have
There
we'll
you
do,
go.
like a limbo contest, and you got to fly underneath a bar.
That's
We'll
true.
do
Yeah.
a pylon race, and then combat.
I say you do all. I say you combine all three of those into one event.
Well, no, but
Into one, there
whoever
you go.
survives, then we'll get Allie to give us a free Consendo to replace it.
There you go.
You do the limbo. You have to do the limbo, go under, and then you have to fly through like a little obstacle course, and then
and result in combat.
that
That would be kind of fun. All right. Well, we'll put that on the agenda for next year, and we'll see how far that
My
goes.
event, I'll put it on there.
Well, unfortunately, yeah,
Anybody
yeah,
will join,
may not
I don't
be
know, but who knows?
right. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I'd throw my hat in the ring for the combat portion of it. Maybe the limbo thing. That'd be kind of cool. So, well, we are out of time, and we appreciate Jay's wonderful story about losing his airplane. We are happy that he did get a new one, so we're gonna have to see if he can keep this one a little longer than just a couple of days.
It's going to get some extra flamboyant colors on it.
On the bottom,
Fabulous.
yeah, so you can see it.
On the
Little
bottom,
bell.
on the tail, so that you could see it.
Yeah,
So
we'll get you an Apple Air tag for the inside. That way we can find it as well. Well, anyway, from here in Arizona, I'm Michael.
Lost in the Woods, I'm Jay.
And still in Mesa AZ, Shannon.
All right. We appreciate you flying with us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.